So I'm here today with Dunlop at Donington Park. They're doing a press event for the SportSmart 4. I thought this is a perfect opportunity to be able to give you a rundown on the tyre. I'm going to capture some of the track action, talk a little bit about the tyres, but then probably the most important part for you is to talk to you about how I've experienced these tyres on the road and how I think they perform. The day was put on by Dunlop to give the press the opportunity to try these tyres in a track environment. I had, of course, already had them on my GSX-8S and had ridden them on the road, but this was an opportunity for some people to try them out for the first time. So let's just take a quick look at the construction of the tyres and how they've changed from the previous model. The SportSmart MK4 is Dunlop's premium hypersport tyre, so it's a road-focused sports tyre, mainly for road use, but with occasional track usage. So they would classify it as a 90-10 tyre in that ratio. If you sit the Mark IV and the Mark III side by side, they do look very similar, but there's been lots of small changes to the Mark IV, which make it a very different tyre. To start with, there's an all-new compound which offers much higher levels of grip in both dry and wet weather conditions. On the rear, that's confined to the shoulders of the tyres with a more durable centre compound to give extra longevity. But it's in the sidewalls where the biggest changes have taken place. The sidewall has been made thinner as part of the carcass tension control, but because the apex material now fully encompasses the bead, there's been no loss in sidewall strength. The combination of this change in construction and the sidewall profile means a larger contact patch on the side of the tyre, which of course means more grip, but still offers excellent feedback and stability. This is said to reduce steering effort and a tendency to stand up when braking it in a corner. As I mentioned earlier, these are a road tyre that are suitable for occasional track use. Now, we were lucky that Peter Hickman was here on the day, and I was also very lucky that he allowed me to attach a camera to his bike. So let's just take a quick look at one of his flying laps around Donington Park.
What?
So in the time I've spent riding on these tyres, what have I discovered? When I first rode on these tyres, I thought, well, these are sporty tyres. They're going to give me a relatively firm ride and could be a bit twitchy in the wet. And the test for that second point came pretty quickly, because one of the first decent rides, kind of 100-mile rides I had, it absolutely chucked it down with rain. I was really surprised just how much traction they gave me in the wet and how much confidence I had in them. Now obviously you haven't got as deeper cuts of tread or as much tread on these tyres as you would do with something like the SportSmart 4,
So they're not a tyre you would want to have to use all year round, because they're not going to perform as well as something like that tyre. But for this type of tyre, they were much better than I was expecting, and I didn't feel like I had to nanny the bike around in the wet. And then of course, going back to that first point, being a sporty tyre, something that is a fast road tyre plus suitable for track work, I expected them to have quite a stiff sidewall, quite a hard carcass, and be a little bit unforgiving, on the basis that they're going to give you lots of feedback. But again, from riding on these, I found that they are a very compliant tyre. Dunlop seem to have found a good mix between giving that compliance that you want on the road, so you're not feeling every single little imperfection, but also giving you enough feedback to know exactly what's going on, to have that quick steering, those fast changes of direction, and they've done that very well. But when you want to pick the speeds up and start pushing it into corners, the grip on these things, particularly in the dry, is phenomenal. But it's not just grip, it's that feel, it's that feedback that you get to know exactly what is going on. They're such a predictable tyre. The steering on them is nice and quick, and because of that dual compound, when you're on the side of the tyre, you've got tons of grip. Very confidence inspiring, but you've still got that slightly harder centre to give you, a bit more longevity. Dunlop indicates somewhere between 4,500–5,000 miles of general use. Obviously, if you're doing a lot of track days in them, you're going to chew through them quicker. I've not really had any sketchy moments in them. The only time I've had any movement is if I'm on lanes like this and you get that little bit of gravel in the corners. And to be honest, largely it doesn't matter what tyre you're riding. If you've got gravel between your tyre and the tarmac, you're going to get some movement. But in every other surface, they are a really nice sticky tyre, and they warm up very quickly. So who are the tyres for? Well, if you want something sporty, potentially a bike that you're not going to ride right through the winter, it just comes out in the spring, goes away at the back end of the year, these are going to work through all of those conditions. They will work in the winter, they're just not going to be as efficient at pushing water out as a dedicated sports touring tyre. What I like about them is I've got that grip, that fast warm up, but they're also not sketchy in the wet. I don't feel intimidated by them in the wet. And also they've got that compliance, that really nice comfortable feel, which really did surprise me. Changes of direction are nice and smooth. They've got a really nice profile, so they feel quick in the corners. They're not the sort of tyre that throws you into the corner. Very predictable, really nice roll from side to side. You see, even really poor road surfaces like this, I'm not getting bounced around by them. So to summarise, these are a good all-round sporty tyre that is going to work on these sort of roads, have a lot of fun, and take it to a track day and perform well. If you want something that's more track focused but still road legal, then you've got the SportSmart TT, but you're going to have other compromises with those tyres. Hopefully this video has been useful. I tried to concentrate on what the key points are around these tyres and what my experience has been, and they have been excellent. As I say, I think they've sharpened up this bike, but they've retained that compliance and that comfort. Grip is excellent, warm up is quick. The only thing that I'm yet to be able to talk about is longevity, but I guess if you're buying these sort of tyres, that's not the most important thing on your wish list. If you've got any questions, then let me know in the comment section down below and I'll come back to you as soon as I can. And so all that leaves me to say is until next time, thanks for watching, take care, ride safe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.